The question was about style, and I have a lot to talk about what is style and how do you adjust for style and what does that mean exactly, style. Is an actor rigid? Is an actor cemented? No, you've got to be able to adjust for the style of the show, and that's serving the show. So you're not serving the casting director or the style of the casting director's taste, but you are adjusting and serving the style of the show you're on and the show that you're auditioning for. Biggest mistake actors make, even if they're prepared, even if they are memorized off book, they've worked out realizations and decisions, they're kind of worked practice with a coach, they're kind of oiled up, they feel good, they're confident. You walk in, the biggest mistake is that you're serving the wrong platter. You're offering French fries when it's a high-end Italian restaurant. Does that make any sense? That was a weird metaphor. You're coming in and you're giving them the wrong style. So you're in what's clearly a kid's comedy and you're acting kind of X-Files drama, or you're coming into what is clearly a very important kind of superhero film and you're offering them something that's kind of light and silly. And so the question is like, how do you adjust? How does the actor adjust their style to suit the style of the show? I'd love for you guys to keep writing on the chat board, because I think the concept of style is super confusing and muddles up a lot of actors. What you can't do is you can't come in and just do whatever the heck you want. So I was coaching in Los Angeles years ago in the, I don't know what it is, probably mid-2000s. I was coaching lots and lots of actors, you know. And there was this biggish actress. She had a TV series. She'll remain unnamed, but she hadn't really been booking for a while, and she was confused as to why she wasn't booking. And so she hired me for an audition coaching because she really wanted to nail this audition or whatever. So she comes to my studio in LA, and she hands me the script, and it's clearly a multi-camera sitcom. Like, it's clearly comedy. Like, it's written like comedy. It looks like comedy. It feels like comedy. The producers are comedic producers, you know? And then she starts, and she's so intensely dramatic and kind of depressing. And so I said to the actress, hang on. This is supposed to be kind of like light and funny. I don't think you're playing the right style. And her answer was, no. However I feel today in the day is what I bring into the room. Whatever's going on with me is what I use it in my art. And I'm like, woo, okay, well now we know why you're not booking. Because how you feel during the day and what's going on with you in your life is irrelevant, absolutely irrelevant. You're supposed to be doing the style of what you're supposed to be doing. So to any question in acting is always one word. And it's ridiculous if you think about it. Character, what is character? What is emotion? What is blocking? What is relationship? What is arc? The answer is always, in the end, what? Come on. That's right. The answer to any question in acting is always action. That's why it's called acting. It's called verb. It's called doing. Doing, verb, action. That's right. Character is what character does. Relationship is how we do to each other. Arc is the movement of realizations and decisions and actions across the plane. Any question you ask, and the emotion is energy in motion. It's action. It's a doing. It's always a doing, because life is a verb, because, you know, atoms are moving. So the answer to style is action, obviously. So the question is, how do you adjust? When a director says, let's adjust your acting, let's adjust the emotion, let's adjust the feel, let's adjust the tempo, they're talking about adjusting what you're playing, like they're adjusting your action. So what is style? Style is action. So therefore, when you're reading your script and you're analyzing the words on the page and you're trying to figure out your realizations and your decisions, which action you're going with, I was going to say choose, but you know, you don't choose, but the action that you need to play in the moment is dictated by the style of the show, which is the overall action feel of the show. You are looking for the style of the show, and you're trying to figure out how to adjust to the style. You have to look at some generals and then get into the specifics. So one of the most important things you need to do is you need to research the television show or the film or the theater piece or whatever it is that you're auditioning for. And it kind of amazes me when I'm coaching that an actor shows up for a coaching and I go, so what do you know about the show? And they go, oh, I don't know. I got nothing. I just got the breakdown. And I'm like, there's an entire world out there called the internet. The script itself, what genre are you in? Are you in high drama? Are you in sci-fi? Are you in fantasy? Are you in kids comedy? Are you in sitcom? There are different genres. Adult kind of humor, like Sex and the City kind of thing, or are you in more of gritty drama like This Is Us, or are you in like a superhero world like Arrow? So you're looking at the genre, and right off the bat, you can figure out the genre in some ways just by looking at the script. This Two Broke Girls is look at the script. It's double spaced and it's all dialogue with almost no action. So instantly I go, oh, I'm in sitcom. So now I know that I'm in a multi-camera universe, you know? So the first thing you do is you're trying to isolate what is the genre of the show. So if you're in Lost in Space, you're in a sci-fi fantasy. And once you've kind of isolated, okay, or determined what is the genre that I'm in, you got to go, okay, now that's not enough, because science fiction, fantasy can come in all sorts of different flavors and different styles. So I go, now that I've kind of gone, okay, so I'm in like a procedural cop show. Let's look at the demographic and the network. The demographic is, who's the show written for? And you're going to get all of that from the writing, from the breakdown, and especially from the research you do online. So you go to deadline.com, you look it up, and you get, okay, so this show is written for 14-year-olds. This show is clearly written for tweens, you know, but this show is written for hip, cool 20s, kind of downloading it or looking at it on Netflix or pirating it in places, you know. This is written for Peaky Blinders or something. And or the last thing to get really specific is who's the team, right? What's the team? So you go, okay, so who's writing this show? Who's the showrunner? Who are the directors? So if it's a feature film, you're looking at the director. If it's a television series, you're looking at the showrunner and the producers. So you go, okay, so this show was produced by the people who gave you When Calls the Heart. You're like, okay, now I totally understand what show I'm in. I'm doing garage sale. I'm talking about garage sale mystery. Or you go, this show is brought to you by the people who are producing and directing Van Helsing. And you go, okay, I'm in a very different world. So if I'm in sci-fi and the demographic is kind of 30s plus and a little bit older, nostalgic, and the network is Netflix. Now I'm in Lost in Space, and we're going to look at Lost in Space. And you go, so who's writing it? Well, it's the writers who brought you, you know, other gritty dramas, and the showrunner is somebody who's bringing you something that's supposed to be like have that J.J. Abrams feel. You go, okay, now I understand. So now, tell me what style we're in.
Doesn't mean you have to.
The point about Felicity's utility was well taken.
So there's a point about wanting nothing to do with Malcolm.
It is her life, and she must find her own truth.
I think her truth is a new life that she's earned.
She's earned your support for her actions, whatever those may be.
I can understand why she would be conflicted with Malcolm. He was her father. I am not conflicted. He was evil, and Thea should not be charged with righting his wrongs.
My father was also evil, and I've dedicated the rest of my life to righting his wrongs.
Sure, guys, feelings about the style of that. How would you describe that style of show? That's Arrow, of course. It's everything's serious, and I've been round, and it's brutal. That's maybe if we have time, I'll show you my demo reel. But that's the opening. What's fun? What I'm really hyper dramatic. Yes. What I was getting a little queasy there too. It's very serious. William Shatner drama. When you go to my reel and you look at the opening scene, which is Legends of Tomorrow, I'm totally in that world. You know, the gravel voice, the Batman. Yeah. Okay. So stylistically, we're talking about super dramatic. Everything is got no sense of irony. It has no sense of, it's got a sense of self-importance. It's got like, it's comic book drama, you know? We've got, say, as a contrast, this show.
I can't. I finally found a place where I fit in.
You did? Where? Is it near here?
It's right at the top of the staircase. Come on, I'll show you.
I'm sure there's a way out of this financial mess. I just need to think. I'll be in my office.
About that, we have so many unsold balls that we ran out of room in the warehouse. We had to store them anywhere we could, including your office.
I don't want a bunch of boxes in my office.
Here it comes. And that was focused. Great, good. So there you go. Now we're talking about a completely different style. Both those shows were shot in Vancouver and actually shot not even that far from each other. And I know actors who have been on both of those TV shows. So you're able to switch, and I have actors on both those shows. So what's your style there? It's everything outward expressed, everything full, nothing subtle, all of it ironic, none of it conflicting. And so I chose those two passages because they're like, I think, the extremes. So let's set up a scale called the Arrow Some Assembly Required paradigm. And somewhere between these two things, these two poles, are kind of like your styles. So, and how are you going to get that? You're going to get that from who's watching Arrow, who's creating Arrow, and what's the world that Arrow's in. And then I look at the script, and the script is going to guide me, and then I'm going to work through my realizations, decisions, but within the lens of who built the show and who did they build it for. And the same thing for Some Assembly Required, which is style is how much you're compressing and how much you're expressing and how much you're internalizing or how much you're externalizing. And that really, to me, is what you're adjusting. What you're adjusting is your counterpoint and the actions you're playing. Highly expressive with very little counterpoint is the Some Assembly Required, all the way to the end. And that's what creates the comedy. And on the other side of it, the very slightly expressed with a lot inside is the world of Arrow. And then in between that, you get a whole spectrum. And so what you're trying to really figure out is like a formula. And it's like a percentage thing. Like what percentage am I expressing out versus what percentage am I expressing in? I wrote a few down. Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow was almost 100% internalized. But Legends of Tomorrow is like 15% expressed out and 85% withheld. Whereas Lost in Space is kind of like 40% expressed and 60% withheld. Whereas A Series of Unfortunate Events is like 75% out, 25% capped. And Some Assembly Required, it was like 100% out, and there's no internal irony. So how much internal or external am I playing in the scene? And that ends up being really what style is.